Welcome back to Softening into Momentum. Before we begin, please note that today's episode includes a discussion around loss due to suicide and self-harm. If you or someone you know is struggling, you are not alone. You can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at any time, 24/7. Help is always available. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm so very glad you're here with me. I'm Miki, and I'm here in the tender space between what was and what will be, which, if we're honest, is where we're always living. Over these past few weeks, we've been building something together. Each episode, each practice has been teaching us the same essential truth. We have more power than we think. Not over what happens, but over how we meet what happens. Today, we're exploring perhaps the most fundamental teaching in all of Buddhism, Anicca, impermanence. The understanding that everything changes, everything ends, and nothing we can hold on to will stay exactly as it is. This might sound like a teaching of loss, but what if it's actually a teaching of profound liberation? I want to talk with you today about grief, about uncertainty, about what it means to love and live fully in a world where nothing is permanent. Because the same truth that breaks our hearts open is the same truth that sets us free. Breathe with me as we enter this sacred territory. My cousin was one of the most vibrant humans I've ever known. She had this way of filling whatever space she was in with creativity and life. She was brilliant. She graduated with honors, achieved a perfect 4.0, spoke multiple languages. But what I remember most isn't the academic achievements. It's how she sang beautifully, how she played several instruments, how she was an accomplished artist who loved to create and perform for anyone who would watch. She had this curiosity about the world that made even ordinary things feel like adventures. When she died in September of 2014, she was only 28 years old. It was sudden, unexpected, the kind of loss that doesn't make sense no matter how many times you try to understand it. This kind of loss leaves a particular kind of grief, one tangled with questions that can never be answered, goodbyes that were never said, a future that disappeared without warning. I didn't get to say goodbye. There was no final conversation, no chance to tell her what she meant to me, no way to let her know that I saw her, that I valued her, that there was so much life we could have still shared together. We were cousins, but we weren't as close as we could have been. life gets busy. Distance happens. You think there will be time later. Time to catch up. Time to really know each other. Time to build the relationship you always meant to have. And then suddenly, there's no more time. And you're left holding all the conversations you never had, all the ways you never got to tell someone they mattered, all the future that will never unfold. Her birthday is coming up soon. She would have been 40 this year. And I've been thinking about her more. About the life she lived and the life she didn't get to live. About all the music she won't make, all the art she won't create, all the moments we won't share. That's the unbearable truth of impermanence. Sometimes it doesn't come gently after a long life well lived. Sometimes it comes suddenly, taking people who should have had decades more. And we're left trying to make sense of something that defies sense. This is what Anicca asks us to hold. Not just that everything changes, but that we have no control over when or how. That the people we love can be here one moment and gone the next. That there are no guarantees, no promises, no assurances that we'll get the time we think we have. In my grief over the years, I found myself reaching for Buddhist teachings. Teachings about Anicca that had always felt abstract, philosophical. But suddenly they weren't abstract anymore. They were the only thing that made sense of the unbearable ache in my chest. Anicca teaches us that impermanence isn't a flaw in the design of existence. It's the nature of existence itself. Everything that arises passes away. Every moment dies into the next. Every breath we take is both a beginning and an ending. My cousin's death didn't happen to her. It was part of the continuous unfolding of her existence, just as her birth was, just as every moment of her 28 years was. She was never a fixed, permanent thing. She was always a process, always becoming, always changing. And so am I. And so are you. But here is what grief taught me about impermanence. The fact that nothing lasts doesn't make it less precious. It makes it more precious. Every moment with her mattered precisely because it wouldn't last forever. Every family gathering, every laugh, every time we were in the same room, they were all sacred because they were temporary. I just didn't know how temporary. I've been thinking about this a lot in my sobriety too. One of the gifts of getting sober is that I stopped numbing the preciousness of life. I stopped buffering against the reality of time passing. I started showing up fully for moments because I was finally present enough to notice them. And that presence includes the grief. It includes the uncertainty, It includes the terrifying awareness that everyone I love will die, including me. That every experience I'm having right now will become a memory, and then even the memory will fade. Buddhism doesn't ask us to transcend this truth or rise above it. It asks us to fully feel it, to let it break us open, to let it teach us how to love more completely while we're here. There's a teaching that I return to often. The problem is, you think you have time. We live as if permanence is the default and change is the exception. But it's the opposite. Change is the only constant. Impermanence is the ground we're standing on. We are living in a time where impermanence feels less like a philosophical teaching and more like the daily news cycle. Political landscapes shift constantly. Economic stability feels elusive. Climate change reminds us that even the seasons we've counted on are becoming unpredictable. Social structures that felt solid are revealing themselves as fragile. And then there's the personal uncertainty. Relationships that end, jobs that disappear, health that changes, plans that dissolve. We're being asked to live with a level of uncertainty that our nervous systems weren't designed for. The human brain craves predictability. It wants to know what's coming, to prepare, to control. Uncertainty activates our threat response because our ancestors needed to predict danger in order to survive. But we're living in a world where so much is genuinely unpredictable. And trying to force certainty where none exists is making us sick. This is where Anicca becomes not just a teaching, but a practice. Can we train ourselves to meet uncertainty, not as a problem to solve, but as the texture of existence itself? I notice this in my own patterns. When I'm anxious, I'm usually trying to make something permanent that isn't. I'm trying to control an outcome, secure a future, prevent a loss. And the tighter that I grip, the more suffering I create. Not because the outcome will change, but because I'm fighting reality itself. In early sobriety, I wanted guarantees. I wanted to know that if I did everything right, if I went to the meetings, if I worked the steps, if I practiced all the mindfulness, I would never struggle again. I wanted sobriety to be a permanent state I could achieve and then maintain without effort. But recovery doesn't work like that. Every day, I choose sobriety again. Every moment, I meet the uncertainty of whether I'll choose it in the next moment. And that's not a failure of the process. That's the process. Life is always in present tense, always being chosen, always unfolding, always impermanent. The same is true for our collective experience right now. We want to know when things will stabilize, when the conflict will resolve, when we can stop bracing for the next crisis. But what if stability isn't something that happens to us, but something we cultivate inside ourselves, even as everything around us changes? This is the radical invitation of Anicca, to find ground not in external permanence, but in our capacity to be present with whatever is arising. To root ourselves, not in the outcomes we can control, but in the awareness that witnesses all outcomes with equanimity. It doesn't mean we don't take action. It doesn't mean we don't work toward change, set goals, or build toward futures we believe in. It means we hold all of it lightly. We do the work without being attached to the guaranteed results. We love fully without demanding forever. We show up completely without requiring certainty. Every breath that we take is a perfect teacher of impermanence. Each inhale arises from nothing, exists for a moment, and then passes away. Each exhale releases what we just received. Breath never holds on. It never tries to make itself permanent. It simply flows. Let's practice together a meditation that uses breath to help us befriend impermanence rather than fear it. So find a comfortable position, and if it feels safe, allow your eyes to close or soften your gaze. Take 3 conscious breaths with me, arriving in this moment. Breathing in and breathing out. Again, inhaling and releasing. Once more, breathing in and letting go. Now bring your attention to the natural rhythm of your breath without trying to control or change it. Notice the inhale as it begins. Feel it enter your nostril, filling your lungs, expanding your chest or your belly. Notice how it reaches a peak, a moment of fullness. And then notice how it naturally transitions into exhale, releasing back out, emptying, dissolving into the air around you. Each breath is born, exists, and dies. Thousands of times a day, you witness this cycle. of arising and passing away. And you trust it completely. You don't try to hold on to the inhale. You don't panic as the exhale releases. You simply allow the natural flow. Allow. This is Anicca. This continuous arising and passing away. This trust in the cycle. Now, as you continue breathing naturally, begin to notice the spaces between breaths. There's a moment at the top of the inhale, a pause before the exhale begins. And a moment at the bottom of the exhale, a pause before the next inhale arises. These are the threshold moments, the in-between spaces, the uncertainty before the next breath comes. Can you rest in these spaces? Can you trust that the next breath will come without forcing it? This is what it means to befriend uncertainty, to rest in the not knowing, trusting the process even when you can't see what's next. As you continue breathing, bring to mind something in your life that feels uncertain right now. Maybe it's a relationship or a career decision, your health, your financial situation, the state of the world. Don't try to solve it or figure it out. Just hold it gently in your awareness while you breathe. Notice if your body tenses around this uncertainty. Notice if your mind starts to try to control it, or predict, or fix. And with each breath, practice letting go, just a little. Not letting go of the caring, but letting go of the demand for certainty. Breathing in, I am present with what is. Breathing out, I release the need to control what will be. And once more, breathing in, I am present with what is. Breathing out, I release the need to control what will be. Now think of someone you love. Maybe someone who's still here, or maybe someone who has passed on. Feel the tenderness in your heart when you think of them. And acknowledge this truth. This love exists right now. This love is real right now. And this moment of love will pass, like every moment passes. Can you feel how impermanence doesn't diminish the love? It intensifies it. How there's a preciousness that comes with temporary. Breathe in this awareness and breathe out. Beautiful. You're learning to love fully while holding everything lightly. When you're ready, gently wiggle your fingers and your toes and return to the space around you. Here is what I've come to understand, and what I hope you will understand as well. Impermanence isn't the problem. Our resistance to impermanence is the problem. We suffer not because things change, but because we want them to stay the same. We suffer not because people die, but because we wanted more time. We suffer not because the future is uncertain, but because we demand guarantees that life simply cannot provide. And yet, this is the paradox. When we finally stop fighting impermanence, when we soften into the truth that everything is always changing, something extraordinary happens. We become more alive, more present, more capable of loving fully, precisely because we know nothing lasts forever. The loss of my cousin broke my heart open. And in that breaking, I found something I've been searching for my whole life. The permission to love without holding back. The courage to show up fully knowing I might lose. The willingness to be present to beauty, even though beauty fades. We don't have to live in constant grief or existential crisis. We can root ourselves in presence rather than permanence. We can find our ground in awareness rather than in the outcomes. And we can trust the process of life, even when we can't control the results. In sobriety, this has been everything. I used to drink because I couldn't tolerate uncertainty. I couldn't sit with discomfort, couldn't handle the unpredictability of life. But Anicca teaches me that uncertainty is not a problem to medicate. It's the creative space where life actually happens. Every day in recovery, I practice holding my sobriety like I hold my breath, with commitment, but without grasping, with intention, but without guarantees. I can't promise I'll be sober forever. I can only choose it in this moment, and then this moment. And then this one. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's understanding how life actually works. So this week, I invite you to practice noticing impermanence, not as something to fear, but as something to witness. With tenderness. Notice how your emotions change throughout the day. Notice how the light shifts from morning to evening. Notice how conversations arise and end. Notice how even difficult moments pass when you stop resisting them. And when you encounter loss, change, or uncertainty, which you will because you're alive, see if you can meet it with the same trust you bring to your breath. See if you can soften into the flow rather than fighting against the current. Remember, impermanence is not the enemy of love. Impermanence is exactly what makes love possible. We can only love what we know we might lose. We can only be present to what we know won't last forever. Thank you so much for exploring the tender territory of impermanence with me today. May you carry the wisdom of Anicca into your daily life. May you love fully, knowing nothing lasts forever, and let that knowing deepen your presence rather than diminish it. The Softening into Momentum podcast is lovingly curated, created, written, and produced by me, Miki Byrne, with accompanying sound bath frequencies by my good friend, Static. If you would like to check out more of his incredible musical work, please go to YouTube at Static is Noise. If this episode touched your heart, please share it with someone who might be navigating loss. Let them know they're not alone, and they can join us in my Patreon community where we're practicing holding life lightly together, supporting each other through all life's transitions. And remember, you can find me each week in my newsletter, Softening into Momentum, where I continue to write about grief, impermanence, and what it means to be fully alive. Until we meet again, keep breathing, keep showing up, and keep trusting the flow. Everything changes, and that's what makes this moment so very precious. Namaste.